This is Talk of the Town, a weekly program featuring community events happening in and around Northeast Michigan. With your host, Bradley Summers. And get the latest from Alpena Community College with ACC President Dr. Don McMaster. And now, today's Talk of the Town.
Good morning and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Bradley Summers, and today my first guest is Priza Morrison from the Salvation Army here in Alpena. Hi, Priza.
Hello.
How you doing today?
Pretty awesome.
So I see you brought a table full of goodies with you as well today.
Yes.
And I know we're going to discuss some of those things, but first off, I just wanted to say congratulations. I hear you hired a new staff member within your ranks.
Yes, Ned Heath. He's one of our casework specialists that we just hired, and he's going to be doing a very important program for us, and that's called the Pathway of Hope program. And what that is a program to help families with children try to break the generational poverty, because we're going into the fourth and the fifth generation. We just want to break that. And so he's going to be doing more extreme casework with people, helping them set up goals, helping them reach their goals, and helping them to get into a situation where they'll be self-sufficient.
Yeah, and that generational poverty is something that, you know, seems to kind of linger a little bit.
Yes.
And any resources that we can find in the community to help break that cycle is extraordinarily important.
Yes.
You know, so I assume I'm probably going to hear from Ned very soon.
Yes.
You know, through my position and our organization, and probably a lot of other people in the community.
Yes.
And I'm sure, you know, you said too that he's undergoing a lot of training on how to administer this program.
Yes, it's a program that the Salvation Army's had for over 10 years now, and it's successful in a lot of other communities. In this community, we haven't been able to really implement it to the way that we wanted to, because we want to make sure if we're going to do a program, we want to do a quality program and to provide the services that we have said we're going to do. And so, been working on that, setting a foundation, and then we came to a point where we said, okay, now we're ready to get it going, so let's hire someone.
Awesome, and it's great to hear that you have such a dynamic person that's joining your team and going to be out there and advocating for good things to happen in our community.
Yes, we're excited.
So the first thing on the table today that I really wanted to ask you about before we get into other topics, but what's all the beads for?
Well, this is, again, the Salvation Army does emergency disaster services, and we don't just do our disaster services here in Alpena. We go wherever we're needed. And so I went to New York after September 11th, and the other time I went to Katrina after that happened. So 2 weeks after Katrina hit, I went to an area called St. Bernard Parish, which was totally underwater, so you probably saw a lot of pictures on TV with people on the roof trying to be rescued by helicopters. So this was one of the areas they finally let us in because the water had dissipated enough for us to go. So we were going to deliver meals. That's what we do. We go and we ask them, you know, we provide meals and whatever items they need, then we try to connect with their headquarters and provide those needs. So we went to one house, and the woman was outside crying, and the husband was trying to calm her down, and they had a whole bunch of their personal effects all over the yard, hoping that it would dry. You could tell that it wasn't going to be a good thing at all. Their pictures were just destroyed. And so I went up there and I asked them if I could, you know, talk to them, see how they're doing, give them some food, and also to pray with them. And the one guy says, I want you to tell my story. And I said, well, what's that? And he came up to me, and I had my hand out, and he goes, Psh! And I had all this gross stuff just pouring out of my hand. And he said, this is all I have left. He says, I've lost everything in my house. This is what was left in the garage, floating in water when I first saw it, and now it hit to the bottom. He says, this is my memory of what Katrina did to me. And again, if you're from Nollins, you know what the beads are for.
Yeah.
And so he gave me this whole bag of beads and told me to bring it back and to share the story whenever I have a chance to. I even gave some out to some of my teenagers, told them to take them home after I cleaned them good, because again the water was not very good that it was soaking in, but gave it to them and told them to go home and pray and think about the families. And I have even one of my Christmas tree that I keep on every year, so that when I see it I remember those people who lost everything. I mean, there were some people that one guy had said that his wife lost her job because she worked at the school system, and that was totally trashed. He lost his boat. He didn't know where it went. Hurricane took it somewhere, so he lost his job, and then they lost everything in their house too. So it's pretty devastating. So we're able to go into those communities and try to help them in whatever way we can, and let them know that there's people in the rest of the United States who loves them and supports them, and that's there for them, and they're not alone.
Well, and it's amazing that Alpena has such a resource like you here that
Yes.
has, all these different experiences and understanding of how different,
Yes.
disasters and things.
Yes,
and
but
help.
we can't do it alone. We need volunteers, and so right now with our disaster services canteen, we're really struggling with volunteers. Most of our volunteers are aging out, and they're not able to provide the services that they used to. And we're concerned because if there's a disaster in this community, we're not going to have the team that can come alongside and provide the services that we need to provide. So we're looking for volunteers now. Anyone, we even got information yesterday that we can even take kids who are younger who would like to volunteer for that. College students, anyone of any age can come, and we can set them up and give them some training on how to be a disaster service. And if they know how to drive and they have a chauffeur's license, they can even drive our food truck. And then we're also looking for a place to place our food truck because we had to recently leave the garage that we were in because they were providing, they were purchasing more vehicles. So we had to move from that. So we're kind of looking for a place to put our food truck too.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yep.
I'm sure somebody will reach out
Yes.
to find a place for
Yes.
your food truck in the community.
Yes.
So please, if anybody's out there watching, please contact the Salvation Army and offer some assistance with
Yes.
these things, because it's extraordinarily important that you're able to store these things.
Yes.
So to become a volunteer, what kind of things would I need to look for to be a volunteer for the disaster relief program?
Willing to work hard, because this isn't easy, even emotionally and mentally, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally, being able to help and assist people when they're going through traumatic times. Someone, again, who has a good heart, who wants to help people and wants to serve people. And a lot of the other things we can train you, because we have a lot of different trainings that help people understand how to cook or how to serve people the way you're supposed to by the health department standards, and all that stuff can be regular training. But someone who really loves people and wants to help people and has a tender heart, because when you're looking at people falling, apart in front of you, to know what to say, that's kind of difficult. And sometimes they don't want to hear anything. They just want you to be there for them and say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. They don't need any long speech or any counseling at that point. They just want to know that you care.
Wow, and so how many volunteers are you looking for? Is there a certain number, or is it just as many as you can possibly find?
Yeah, as many as we possibly can, because what we're hoping to is break up in teams. So like some people say, well, I can't do it during the day because I have a job, but I would be able to do it at night. And then someone else might say, well, during the day I'm not really a morning person, but I'm a night person, so I can do the night shift for you too. So we'd like to break up in 3 shifts. And again, this isn't something that we do every day. Our disaster, we may get called out once a month, maybe twice a month. There might be some disaster. So it's not like every time you turn around we're going to be calling you out. We do other things like maybe we're in a parade, or we help at the food pantry. We kind of help at the pop-up pantries. We help serve those people. Sometimes we go out and help serve other agencies too while they're doing some important trainings or some important service. And so, but that's volunteer if they want to do that. But for disasters, we don't have that many that someone says, oh man, I'm doing this all the time. So it could fit in their schedule really easily, even if they're one of those snowbirds.
Yeah. So, well, like I said, the community is so lucky to have you. I can just feel your passion for what you do to get people rallied together to help people in need in our community. And I wish, we need a lot more people like you here, that are advocating for those people in need that sometimes, we don't see every day, that are going through something absolutely horrendous in their life, or a disaster or something. So. Thank you so much for what you do. And unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Every time you're on, I feel like we could just talk for an hour about everything.
But again, we wouldn't be able to do any of this if it wasn't for the people in this community who give of their, their funds or their time to do the services. So we appreciate all they do, or I wouldn't be here.
Well, thank you so much, Prisa, for everything that you do. Stay tuned after the break for Ted Fines from the Habitat for Humanity. Welcome back, everyone. Our next guest today is Ted Fines from the Habitat for Humanity for Northeastern Michigan. Hi, Ted. I was going to say hi, Habitat.
Hi, Habitat.
How are you?
That's fine.
Well, and my brain kind of went that way, but you do wear a lot of hats right now, and you're not just in in Alpena, you also serve 5 other counties.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because I spoke recently at the Chamber of Commerce Friday morning breakfast, and I think I was introduced as Habitat for Humanity Alpena. And I had to correct that person to say, no, we are in this area, this county, this county, this county. We're doing work in all these other counties. So that's a misperception. I think because of the fact that we're in Alpena, there's an assumption there. But we do a tremendous amount of work in Northeast Michigan.
Yeah.
In Northeast Michigan.
And I mean, you're in Roscommon, you're in Presqu'Isle.
We're in Presqu'Isle. We're in Alpena, Alcona, Oscoda County, and Montmorency County, doing work in Crawford County, and it goes on and on. We've actually been asked to do work in Detroit and Flint.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we do more repairs than anyone else in the state.
Well, I know what you're doing.
Habitat repairs.
And what you're doing to build the reputation, not only in just this Northeast Michigan sector that we're in, but throughout the state. You're on a state board too for the Habitat for Humanity, which actually advocates for funding projects and so many great things that are brought here and to other counties.
Well, what was important, I've been pushing that fact for, it's not like I needed the job as a board member down in Lansing for Habitat for Humanity of Michigan. But I felt it was important for me to advocate for Northeast Michigan because I tend to see people continue up I-75 and make a left-hand turn or go over the bridge. They don't make that right-hand turn into Standish and then continue up 23. So I felt like we were being missed and we were missing opportunities. So it's up to me to advocate for the citizens, for the community, for the seniors, for the veterans. Because if you look at statistics, and I presented this in Lansing at a few weeks ago, the average age in our area, the average income in our area, the percentage of veterans, the percentage of people over 65, the value of homes, et cetera, et cetera. And compared to the whole state of Michigan, we are aging out, we're getting older, we don't have any housing, we don't have any rentals affordable, and we need to do something about it. Now, I'm in a position now where I am on certain task force locally that are attempting to address these issues, but we've gone one step ahead. We actually are breaking ground on projects here in Alpena Township, in Alpena County, in Montmorency. I can go on and on. I mean, we have to do something now, not wait.
Yeah, and I see, one of the things that we discussed even before we started taping today was, 2 projects that I drive by, taking my daughter to school and driving down Washington. There's actually 2 homes that are going in, the footings and the foundation have been poured.
It's a great advertisement for Habitat and for modular construction for that matter. So if you'll notice in the last few days, we have put up a 6-foot by 9-foot banner, which was approved by the city, by the way, advertising not only the fact that this is a Habitat home, but it's not a typical Habitat home. This house is going to fit into the neighborhood and look like it was built in 1917.
Yeah, wow.
And manufactured by General Housing Corporation, Bay City, which is the only manufacturer of modular homes in the state of Michigan. So we're looking at expanding and joining with them and other affiliates in northern Michigan to expand their capacity in modular construction and have an impact as far as affordable housing. This is not trailer homes. These are not tiny houses. These are 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 2 full baths, living room, kitchen, et cetera, carpeted, you name it. You would not know the difference between this and a stick build. This is a stick build that's built in controlled environment.
Yeah.
And then shipped out. In 1 section, 2 sections.
And it's incredible too because the 2 locations that I've seen locally here are in areas where there was a house fire and an abandoned building that was knocked down probably 25, 30 years ago. That was just a vacant piece of property.
And there's no taxes being collected. There's nothing going on. There's just one vacant piece of property. we took advantage of the fact that a lot of these properties are owned by people who have donated those properties to Habitat. So that's a tremendous savings. That piece of property on Washington, you could have probably sold that for $15,000, $20,000. It was donated to us. So that again makes it attainable. It doesn't add to the cost of the house for that family of 5. This is a single mom with 4 kids.
Wow, yeah.
And she is really looking forward to it. She's putting in her sweat equity. When that house gets there, we're looking for volunteers. There's going to be a tremendous amount of work to be done there. And then the house on Jefferson that we took over and renovated, we're renovating, deep cleaned it. It's 100% better than it was. And we're putting in a family there that has never owned a house. They're in their 50s.
Yeah, and I didn't know that that was one of the locations as well.
Yeah.
On Jefferson. I've seen the renovations, but
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was associated with Habitat.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful opportunity. And this is what we do. This is what we offer. And again, it's surprising to me where people will say, oh, you just give away houses, don't you? No, no. We join with institutions, banks, credit unions to get these families or individuals credit worthy and mortgage ready. And they pay a mortgage every month, affordable mortgage every month. That's putting they're paying taxes, they're maintaining their houses, they're being mentored, and it's a plus for our community. And on the other side, the older, we have, 75% of the houses in Alpena were built before 1966.
That's an incredible statistic.
And they need to be maintained, and they haven't been maintained. So that's where we come into play.
Well, and there's a lot of things that go into that. The aging population,
Yep.
older houses.
Yep.
People don't have the time, the money, the resources.
And it's actually cheaper, obviously, to keep it inside, keep these couples or individual seniors in their homes than putting them into assisted living. Much cheaper.
Yeah. Well, my goodness. Every single time that we talk, I feel there is a million more things that start popping up that I want to discuss and talk with you about, especially because I know you have such passion for our area and the region that you serve. And the state is lucky, and Habitat is lucky to have you advocating at the state level, and we're lucky to have you here.
Well, I swore that I would be more than a fly on the wall when it came to the state board, that I was going to make a difference. And they know who we are and where Northeast Michigan is now.
Well,
so that's important.
Well, Ted, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have.
Are you
today.
kidding me?
I know, right?
Come
that went by
on.
super fast again.
Get that round table.
Yeah, right? And so thank you again for being here. Like I said, the area would be amiss without a human being like you here to advocate for what we're doing. So
And we
thank
can
you.
always do things with the Boys and Girls Club, by the way.
Well, absolutely.
Little plug there.
Well, thank you, Ted. Thank you all for joining us today as we continue to go down the road of all the wonderful nonprofits and meet with all the wonderful leaders here in our community. Stay tuned after the break for the ACC segment.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Dr. Don McMaster, president of Alpena Community College, and I'm pleased to have as our guest this morning Jeff Blumenthal, Director of Administration Information Systems at ACC, but just a key guy in our technology arena. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, Jeff, you've had a great career at ACC. You're retiring in 6 weeks or so. You delivered the commencement address, and what are your thoughts as you're coming down the stretch here?
Well, it's kind of a lot to think about because there's so many things that have happened over the 30 years at the college, and I think the ability to speak at the commencement ceremony was an opportunity to reflect and to share some of those things that happened with the students and the graduates, because a lot of them will probably have careers, and eventually those all come to an end, and they can see what happens from start to finish. And obviously with technology at the college, there's just been a tremendous amount of things that have happened within the past 30 years. And one thing that always sticks out in my mind is that when both you and I started at the college, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have email, we didn't have smartphones. Somehow we survived, we figured it all out. But, you know, when we were there, when we brought internet to the community,
Yeah.
and the college was a part of that, and they were one of the driving forces. And so it's interesting to see where everything has come to the point now where everybody is so reliant upon it, and they forget how it all started. So it's kind of interesting to go back and reflect how everything started.
Well, you crafted your commencement speech for those who didn't have an opportunity to see it, and it is available on YouTube. Talked about that, the evolution of technology from the time you started, and you hit some of the milestone events along the way, and I was sitting right behind you, and clearly I could see it really resonated with people in the crowd, kind of our age, who have lived through this, this evolution. Of course, the students mostly are young, so their experience has been the smartphone. And I heard numerous compliments about how you managed that, and your overall theme, of course, was "Be ready, change is inevitable."
Yep, and the theme was "The times they are a-changin'."
Yep.
And obviously for those students, who knows what it's going to be like for them, you know, 30 years down the road. You know, we went through an awful lot. One thing that I think will probably change a lot for those students is their jobs and the job titles, because that's constantly evolving. You know, the notion of this whole artificial intelligence in IT nowadays seems to be taking off, and how do you navigate all of that, and how is that going to change the workforce in the future? So there's a lot there that I think the students hopefully picked up on.
Yeah. Boy, that's an interesting point you bring up. It's a little bit of a tangent, but I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Prior to the walk up to the podium for graduation, one of the faculty and I had a conversation, and they were talking about the capacity that some students use AI to write their papers. And what does that mean? How do you prevent it? How do you begin to navigate in that world? And that is kind of a scary thought in some ways, many ways. What's your thought on how that all may evolve?
Well, I think from an academic standpoint, the instructors are really going to have to learn how to navigate a lot of that notion that AI could potentially be used for writing papers. So therefore, they may want to come up with different methods to assess the students, and a lot of that might be verbal. So instead of a written exam, it might be a verbal exam where they have to speak, or the traditional blue book, as we called it, where they actually have to come to class, they go buy a blue book and they write in it. So there's going to be different ways of how you would assess students to be able to verify. And then obviously you need to know the student's voice through their writing. And that's something that perhaps AI won't, you know, initially be able to pick up on, but could in the future. But one thing that always concerns me about any type of technology out there that evolves is how it has the ability to be weaponized. And that's something that is always there. I don't think that our government or the socially we're able to navigate a lot of that fast enough to understand how that technology evolves.
Yeah, until it's already in place.
Correct.
Difficult to dislodge at that point.
Yep.
So we have about 2 minutes left. One of the major projects that you've led that's really critical to the college is the upgrade of our Ellucian software platform, and then taking our data to the cloud and making it more impervious to breach and cyber attacks. You know, could speak to that for a little bit, how that project has influenced you and what you see the future of it for the college.
Sure. So with that particular project, we've tried to take the information system that is used by our staff and our students, and this is happening at many institutions, and it's the notion where that data, that information is managed by the company, for example, and they take care of it, they secure it. And then it's used in such a way that it can be prevented any kind of a cybersecurity attack or ransomware, something of that nature. But it's really to look to the future for the college and for the students.
Yes.
And there's lots of other things that will be coming along with that system as well that will be beneficial to the students.
seeing that many of them do access information through their phone, kind of a web portal improvements are part of that.
Yes, yes. So there's a portal component that the students will have access to that will allow them to not only register but also fill out the form to be able to become a student, admissions application, and of course working through the housing process. And it would be a great benefit to our admissions department as well.
You bet. Well, you have been pivotal, along with a handful of others in your area, in kind of moving the college from a traditional model where the students come to us at our kind of, not convenience, but our schedule, the schedule of our making, and a delivery mode of our making, to a much more technology-based, remote instruction, hybrid. That's been significant. A lot of other schools haven't done that, and that's part of your legacy.
Yep, so helped to bring Blackboard to the institution, and then worked with the video conferencing systems, which are now widely used. And you know, we're in 24 different area high schools throughout the northern Michigan and in the UP, so our reach is quite far, and a lot of that is attributed to the technology that's in place to do that.
Well, thank you. You did great.
Thank you.
We're going to miss you, and congratulations on a great career at ACC.
Thank you very much.
So thank you folks for watching Talk of the Town. We'll see you again next week.
This has been Talk of the Town with your hosts Bradley Summers and Dr. Don McMaster. For a list of community events taking place in Northeast Michigan, please visit our website at WBKB11.com and click on our community link. This has been a Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation production. All rights reserved.